Yes. So without any more delay, let's get started with today's session. Okay.
Yes.
So, guys, if you remember, in the previous lectures, we talked about, we mainly focused on phrase, okay? So we said phrase is smaller than a sentence. It's not a complete sentence. It does not contain a subject and a verb, okay? So for today, I'm not going to talk about this again because we talked a lot about phrase, different types of phrase, the functions each type has, okay? So for today's class, we are going to start with the types of sentences, okay? Um, for this session, we are going to mainly focus on the types of sentences, and this one is on chapter 7 in your book, okay? So the chapter starts with the types of sentence, okay? Later we will come and talk about other stuffs related to sentences, okay? So the first types of sentence we have is, how many types of sentence do we have in English, by the way? I think you have covered this one. Yeah.
Hannah can't join. She's saying, how can I join?
She has to send a request. I already shared the link with you on Moodle, but I cannot see her request. Yes,
I
it's the same
already
link,
sent
look,
her the link also.
Amina, it's the same link that I shared with you. We are not using a new link, okay? It's the same link that we used for the previous lectures. We haven't
Yes,
changed
yes,
any.
I know. I sent her the link again, but she's saying I cannot join.
So just click on the link. It takes you to the application, the Microsoft Team, or you have to go in your browser. Just click on it. It takes you to the meeting, and that's it. It's very simple.
Mr. As an answer for your question, we have four
Please, go
types
ahead.
of sentence.
We have 4 types of sentences. What are they?
I think one of them is declarative and exclamative and imperative and interrogative.
Yes. Well, thank you. This is one of the classification of types of sentence, but here we are talking about different classification than yours, okay? We are talking about 3 or 4 different types of sentences. The first one is simple sentence. And the second one we will be focusing on is compound, okay? And the third one is complex sentence. And also we have complex compound sentence, okay? We will talk about each separately and we will give examples for each one, okay? Okay, so let's start with the paragraph, okay? I want you to look at these 2 paragraphs. Okay, we've got 2 different paragraphs here. Read the paragraphs below. Choose the paragraph that's more effective, okay? So I'll give you 2 minutes to read both paragraphs, and please tell me which paragraph is more effective in terms of structure, okay? Which one do you think is more effective and why? You have to give me reasons. Do you understand, guys?
Yes, yes.
So go ahead, please. Read both paragraphs and tell me which one is more effective. Okay. So Amina, would you please tell us which one is more effective in your opinion and why?
The second paragraph.
The second
It's more
paragraph is
effective.
more effective.
Yeah,
Okay. So
because
why do you think so? Because the content is the same, right? I mean, it talks
yes,
about basically the same ideas, but what's the difference? Like, why it's more effective, the second one?
it's complete sentences يعني with extra information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I living in the city of San Francisco. But in the first
Yes.
paragraph, it
Okay.
was I love in the city. So the second one is more.
Uh-huh. So there's more explanation and illustration.
Yeah.
Okay. And what else? Thank you, Ragat. What do you
Yes,
think, Ragat?
sir.
So
For
which one
me,
is more effective and why? Okay.
okay, the second paragraph is more effective because in the first paragraph she is talking about the city, but she did not like talk about which city is it. She's just
Mm-hmm.
talking randomly, but in the second one she is talking specific about one city, so we know
Yeah.
that she is talking about San Francisco in general. So that's why, like,
So that's
she's
why it's
direct.
more effective. You mean there's more description of the
Yes,
city than
yes,
the first one? Okay, so the writer gives more details
yes.
about the city than the first paragraph. Any other idea, please? Who wants to say something again? Yeah, let me choose Noor. What do you think, Noor? Which one is more effective to you and why?
The second one.
Huh? Why is that then?
Like the sentence, it's more clear. We can get it. It's a right
Okay.
paragraph. But the first
Yeah,
one,
okay.
it's no more details about the sentence.
Exactly. The sentences are very short. They are pretty
Yeah,
short, you know. Uh, the writer has written the first one all in the simple sentence,
yeah.
while the second one, it's more about like compound words, complex sentences, compound sentences, okay? So the second one is more interesting, it's more engaging than the first one because the writer has used different techniques like transitional signals, as you can see here, for example, in addition. Mhm. Also, because, however, so all these things make the second paragraph more interesting and more effective than the first one. Okay? So the reason I showed you these two paragraphs is when we use compound and complex sentences in our paragraphs, in our writing, it adds color, it adds more variety to our writings, okay? I bet anyone can write this way, like maybe a student wants to learn English at a lower level, maybe he writes this way in simple sentence. I love living in the city. I have a wonderful view of the city. I have an apartment. Huh? It's not connected. The sentences are not joined logically, okay? While the second one is more coherent because the writer has used complex and compound nouns, okay? Right, so let's start with the types of sentence. The first type that we are going to talk about is simple sentence. So what is a simple sentence? This is in the simplest definition. You can say the simple sentence has the most basic elements that make it a sentence. What are the basic elements of a simple sentence? A subject and a verb and a completed thought. Okay? So how do you know this one is a simple sentence? Because it has one subject and one verb and it expresses one complete idea, okay? One complete thought, okay? That's why we know that this is a simple sentence. It's neither a complex nor a compound sentence. It's a simple sentence, okay? Because there's only one idea. For example, if I say, I opened the door. What do you think? Is this a simple sentence or complex, compound? What do you think, Mina? I opened the door.
Which one?
So I'm just saying the sentence. It's not here. I opened the door. Is this a simple sentence, a compound, or a... Okay, why do you think it's a simple?
Because it is the subject and
Because it expresses one complete idea, one complete thought, and there's only one subject and a verb, okay? It does not say, I opened the door and then I went outside, okay? If I say, I opened the door and I went outside, this is not a simple sentence. This is a compound, because you compound two independent clauses, okay? We will talk about dependent and independent in a minute, okay? Right. So one simple sentence means the idea is single, okay? Right. So for example, here, Joe waited for the train here. Which one is the subject? Joe, as you can see here. Waited is the verb, so this one is a simple sentence. No one can say that this one is a compound or a complex, because it expresses one single notion, one single idea, and there's one subject and one verb. The train was late. The train, subject, is the verb. Mary and Samantha took the bus. Mary and Samantha is the subject, means they, if you replace it with a pronoun, and because it's a compound subject. Okay, took is the verb. Another example, I looked for Mary and Samantha at the bus station. The subject is I, okay, as you can see here. Looked is the verb. So do not be deceived by the length of the sentence. Maybe if you look at the structure, you think that this one is not as simple because it's long enough. But it's possible because we have only one subject and one verb. If you look at the second example here, Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station early, but waited until noon for the bus. If you look at this sentence, probably you think that this is not a simple sentence because it's very long. But as I said, don't be deceived by appearance because this is a simple sentence. Why? You have to look at it and explain it in more detail. You have to identify the subject, Mary and Samantha, which is a compound subject. Arrived and waited, they are compound verbs, okay? So we have two verbs here, but still it's considered as a simple sentence, okay? So this is what basically we mean by a simple sentence. Okay? Any questions so far about simple? No?
No, thank you.
Okay, so sometimes in English we say no question is a question. I mean, when you don't have question, there's a question mark. It either means you understood very well or it means you did not understand. So which one are you?
No, we did understand.
Okay, great. Thank you. So now let's go to the compound sentences. Okay. Compound means two things joined together, okay? Two parallel structures joined together. So as I showed you the two paragraphs in the beginning of the live session, we said we use compound sentences to make our writing rich and colorful, okay? This is the reason, this is the purpose behind using the compound and complex sentences. Because we, as writers, not only writers, even as a speaker, when we communicate through written mode or through spoken mode, we don't speak in simple sentences, okay? We have to make our writing and our speech more interesting by using compound and complex structures or sentences. Okay? So, what do? The compound sentences? They provide more detail and they make paragraphs more interesting and engaging. I think this is kind of repeated. We talked about this at the beginning. So when forming compound sentences, it's very important to understand the components, okay, of a compound sentence and to use the proper punctuation to join clauses, okay? So whenever we want to create the compound sentences, it's very, very important to know the different parts, the different components of a compound sentence, okay? And we have to know how to use the proper punctuation to join the two clauses, okay? Right, we will talk about this in the coming slides. So let's come to the definition of a compound sentence. What's a compound? So compound sentences, they contain, look at the definition here on the slides, they contain two or more independent clauses. This is important. Independent mean? Any idea? What's the meaning of independent clauses? Clause means sentence, okay, here? Whenever we refer to clauses, we mean sentences. So independent means what? What does independent
Can I answer?
Okay, yes. Yeah,
It's
please.
like a clause that can stand alone as a sentence.
Absolutely, yes. And it can stand alone and it gives the full meaning, okay? Independent يعني مستقل يعني سربخو. Okay? دتواني بتانية درست بكاري بينينو هيج مشكلة شيء ما نكيتوا subject to verb here يك idea در دبري, okay? An independent clause is a kind of clause that can stand alone, okay? It does not depend on others to give the full meaning, okay? It's independent, سربخوية and مستقلة, okay? In Arabic you say. So we have two or more independent clauses joined together with a coordinator. How are they joined? This is important. What do we call the, let's say the articles? We call them coordinator, okay? Such as what? For, and, or but. We have more, of course, but these are the main ones. It is distinct from a complex sentence. How do we distinguish how it's different from complex sentence, which is an independent clause that's joined with dependent clause, okay? So basically in the compound sentences, we have two independent clauses, okay, joined by a coordinator like for, and, or but, okay? So there are more than one clauses. For example, let's give examples now, okay? So as we said, an independent clause, it's a clause that contains three things. A subject, okay? This is the definition or the explanation of independent clause. So there's a subject, something or someone that the sentence is all about, okay? And then you have an action, a verb, something that's being done, and then a complete thought, complete idea. There are no questions as to meaning at the end of the sentence. As we said, there are more than three types of coordinator. Okay, I have like used an abbreviation, fanboys. F stands for, A stands for and, N stands for nor, B stands for but, O stands for or, Y stands for yet, and S stands for so. So we have these 6 types of coordinators in English, actually more than 6, 7, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Okay, so for compound sentences, we use these coordinators to join the two independent clauses together. So when you have two independent clauses joined by one of these coordinators, That's a compound sentence. Okay, usually a comma is required, so we use the comma before the coordinator. Usually, okay? I'm not saying always. Be careful about the word usually. Okay? So we usually use comma. We need comma before the coordinator. We will come and take examples. Okay? For example, examples of compound sentences. Max likes to hunt and he is going hunting on Friday. Let's analyze this sentence in terms of types of whether it's simple, compound, or complex. The first clause, Max likes to hunt. This is an independent clause. How do you know this is an independent clause? Because you have a subject, which is Max. Okay.
And we have a verb too.
And we have also verb, likes, which is an action, okay? And a complete thought is expressed. So we can come to the conclusion that Max likes to hunt is what? It's an independent clause, okay? The meaning can stand alone. It expresses a complete thought, a complete notion, a complete idea, okay? For example, if you just say Mike likes to hunt, no one can deny that this is an incomplete sentence in English. It's undeniable. Okay? Because not one inkari probably or rostaniya yan manainia. But one bataniya bakari benin. It's mishkilaina. This is the independent clause. Okay. Let's come to the second clause. He is going fishing on Friday. This is also an independent clause. Okay, how do you know that this is an independent? Because you have a subject, he, and is going together. It's an action, and a complete thought is expressed. So, my question is, what kind of sentence is this? Is this a simple sentence or a compound sentence?
Compound.
A compound sentence. How do you know, Mina, this is a compound sentence?
Because we have two sentences and they both independent and they have coordination.
Exactly. They have coordinator between them, okay, which is and, okay? And is the coordinator. Okay, now let's contrast compound sentences with complex sentences. Let's compare them, okay? Right. So only independent clauses joined by one of the coordinators, as we talked about, fanboys, okay? For, and, nor, but, or, yet. So they are compound sentences. Only if two sentences are joined by these coordinators, they are compound sentences. Okay, this is the distinctive feature. This is the distinctive feature of compound sentences. تنها اگر بوانا درست به یک بستر بوا به اداتانا که باس ما کرد they are compound sentences. Okay, the second part. When an independent clause and a dependent clause are joined, this is important, a complex sentence is formed. So the difference between compound and complex sentence is complex sentences have one independent clause with dependent clause. This is important, okay? So you have two clauses for complex sentences. One of them is independent, but the other one is dependent. What does dependent mean? It means the meaning of this clause depends on the main sentence, okay, or the main clause. Does that make sense? Okay. So, a complex sentence is formed which is distinct from a compound sentence. For example, if we take some concrete examples here, when I visited my mother, I eat cookies. You can analyze this structure, this, let's say, syntactic structure in terms of types of sentence? I would like to choose someone. Any volunteer for this one? Noor? Or Helen, maybe? Okay, go ahead,
Yes.
Noor. Okay.
Okay, teacher. What shall I do?
Try to tell us what kind of sentence is this? Is this a simple, compound, or complex, and why?
It's not simple.
It's a simple sentence, you think?
No,
Okay. So what is it then?
it's not.
Is it a compound sentence?
No,
So what is it?
there's no fanboys.
Exactly. There's no
Yeah.
and or but.
Yeah.
There's no coordinators, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what is it
It's a
then?
sentence.
It's a complex.
Oops. Okay.
Okay. Why do you think it's a complex?
Teacher, what's the difference between the complex and compound? Like,
Okay.
independent sentence, just fanboys is theirs, and the simple sentence, the same.
No. For complex sentence, I just gave you the definition. For complex sentence, you have one independent clause and a dependent clause, okay? For example, here, if you look at the same examples, which one is independent? I eat cookies.
Yes.
I eat cookies. That's it. It's an independent. It's an independent clause. But here, when I visited my mother, if I say this clause alone, does that make sense? Is this independent when I say when I visit my mother?
No.
No. So we come to the conclusion that when I visit my mother is what? It's a dependent clause. It's not independent. سربخونية. يعني معناه هو اعتمادك على السراوة. And the meaning of the dependent clause depends on
The independent one.
the independent one, okay?
Okay.
If you don't have this one does not make sense. Okay? Is معناه كنابه. When I visit my mother, so what? You understand now?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So we can say one sentence is free, the other one is not free. Okay, it's bound. The meaning depends on. هلا بروح بدل independent. Depend يعني اعتمادك على السر. Depend on means يعتمد على اعتمادك على السر. رستكي سركي رست سركي the main sentence. So the meaning of minor, okay, this one is less important, this one is more important in the sentence. So the meaning of the dependent clause depends on the meaning of the main clause, or what we call independent clause, okay? So this is not a compound sentence. Why? Because when I visit my mother is not an independent clause, and a coordinator is not used. Remember, we said only we use coordinator with the compound sentences. Do we have coordinators here? No, we don't. We have something else. We will talk about them, okay? When, we have when. We call them subordinator, okay? Now, for those words that we use to join two sentences to form complex sentence, we call them subordinator, okay? These are coordinator, okay? But for the complex sentence, we call them subordinator. What does subordinators mean? linker. Okay, sub means less important. يعني فرعية. sub وشيء sub بالإنجليزي substantial لبوا. sub means لاوكي. أنا الثانوي ياخذ فرعي اشتكى سركينة بدل sub. Okay. For example, I study hard because I have an exam. You can analyze this structure here. Let me see if I can. Okay. I study hard because I have an exam. What kind of sentence is this? Is this a simple sentence? Is this a compound or a complex? Yes. Any volunteer?
Is it simple?
Okay. Is it simple? Why do you think it's simple?
Because it's not, there's no fanboy, so it's not compound.
Yes, okay.
And
very good.
Yeah, and it's not complex because like its whole sentence not independent and dependent together.
So you think it's a simple sentence?
So
I study hard because I have an exam. You think this is a simple sentence, Raghat?
Yes.
Sarah, any idea, Sarah? What do you think? I study hard because I have an exam. Sarah, can you hear me? Helen, what do you think? I study hard because I have an exam.
Mr. Yasin.
Yeah, please.
It's a complex sentence.
It's a complex sentence. Okay, good. Okay, analyze it. Why and how?
Same as when I visit my mother, I eat cookies.
Very
because,
good. Okay.
yes, because I said, sorry, what was the sentence?
I study hard because I have an exam.
Yes, you can say because I have an exam, I study hard.
Very good.
So I eat cookies when I visit my mother.
So I study hard is what? It's an independent clause.
Yes.
Okay. Because I have an exam is dependent. And if you just say because I have an exam, the meaning is not complete. You must have another independent clause to complete the meaning, okay? واضحة? I study hard because I have an exam. أو complex. It's a complex sentence. Complex يعني معقد يعني آلوس. Okay? Yes. Because I study hard can be said alone, okay? It can stand alone. All right? Yes. So let's go back to right. This is the same example. I like to fish because fishing is fun. Let's look at the analysis. Analysis you obtain. Although I like to fish is an independent clause. I like to fish. It's an independent clause. And fishing is fun is an independent clause. This is still not a compound sentence. Why?
Because there's no fanboys.
Exactly, because you don't have coordinators. You don't have coordinators for, and, but, or, so, yet, okay? It's a complex sentence. This one is a complex sentence. Why? Because none of these 7 coordinators are used. Remember we talked about the 7 coordinators? Yes. And also, if you say this clause alone, it's incomplete in terms of meaning. The meaning of this clause depends on this one, okay?
Mama.
I like to fish because fishing is fun. Okay? You can also say, because fishing is fun, I like it. So it's possible to use dependent clauses at the beginning of the sentence, okay? But in this case, you must use a comma, okay? When we use dependent clauses at the beginning of the sentence, you must use the comma. I can hear some background noise.
Sorry, Mr.
Okay. Right. Okay. So a complex sentence is made up of means consists of. It consists of an independent clause, and one or more dependent clauses. Look, one or more. This is important. شرطية يعني يقرص لا وكبه. You might have more than one dependent clauses. Okay? A dependent clause is similar to an independent clause or complete sentence, but it lacks one of the elements that would make it a complete sentence. Okay, يعني a dependent clause is very similar to independent, but it lacks one of the elements that would make it a complete sentence. يعني يقلا feature كاني لدزداوا بأوي كبلين يقلا element كاني نيا كبوي بلين أو it's a complete or independent clause. For example, examples of dependent clauses. These are all examples of dependent clauses in English. Because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon, this is all what? Is this dependent or independent clause? What do you think? Don't look at the length, as I said. But you have to think logically. Is this an independent clause or dependent, and why?
It's dependent because like it's not complete a sentence.
Exactly. Like you still need think that something is missing, okay?
Yes.
Because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon, you pause. You make a short pause here and you think that something is missing here. Because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon, so what? So this is an independent clause. It's not independent. It is dependent. أقدر بن زمان يعني بوحد محلتين dependent يعني ناصر بخو يعني معناه كي اعتمادك على تسرش كتير depend. It depends on. Independent means it can stand alone. Okay? Independent يعني سر بخو. لو تكلامك don't get confused between dependent and independent. Another example of dependent sentence. While he waited at the train station, this is also a dependent clause because the meaning depends on the full meaning, the complete meaning depends on another clause which is independent. For example, while he waited at the train station, he called his friend. complex later. He called his friend. So it's very time consuming, that's why. Okay, anyways, he called his friend while he waited at the bus station. Okay. The last one, after they left on the bus, this is dependent clause because the meaning cannot stand on its own alone, okay? It should always depend on another clause which is independent. So dependent clauses such as those we talked about earlier above cannot stand alone as a sentence. But دوري أساسي ببنيت. Okay? But they can be added to an independent clause to form a complex sentence. Okay? I mean, using the dependent and complex sentence and compound, as we talked about the importance of using them, it gives more variety to your writing. That's why I think the students, when they speak in English or when they write in English, they only think in simple sentences or they only write in simple sentences. Try to connect your sentences using coordinators, subordinators to make your writing more interesting and more meaningful to your audience, to your readers, okay? Okay. So, dependent clauses, as we said, we call the words that join the complex sentence. What do we call them? Any idea? I just talked about. Do you have a memory of fish? Subordinating conjunctions, okay? Subordinators. So, below are some of the most common subordinating conjunctions, okay? أنا لباوترين conjunction coordinate subordinate كان after, although, as, because, before, even though, if, since, unless, until, okay? When, whenever, whereas, wherever, while, though, okay? So a complex sentence joins an independent clause with one or more dependent clause. I think this is repeated. Okay, so we have more than 7. Unlike coordinators, we have more subordinators to join the complex sentence. Okay. So let's talk about the structure, okay, of complex sentence. Can we use dependent clauses or independent clauses at the beginning, or both? If yes, how? Okay. So the dependent clauses can go first. We can use them at the beginning, the dependent clauses in the sentence, followed by an independent clauses as in the follow. And we can use dependent clauses first, then it's followed by independent clauses. For example, so there's a tip here. There's a note, ملاحظك. When the dependent clause comes first, a comma should be used to separate the two clauses. Katika dependent clause لسرت على سبكاردني أنا بيوست كوما دابنين okay بقوي هادو clause اللي يجاب كينو okay only when we use dependent clauses initially يعني لسرتها initially we have to use the comma. For instance, as you can see here, when Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon, okay, this is dependent clause. I did not see them at the station. Okay, so which one is the dependent and which one is independent? This is a complex, let me tell you this. This is a complex sentence, but which one is dependent and which one is independent and how?
The dependent, the first one, because Mary and Samantha arrived in the bus.
Okay,
And
good.
the independent, I did not see them at the station.
Very good. I did not see them at the station. I did not see Mary and Samantha at the station. This is independent clause because it can stand alone. But the dependent clause is this one because we have what here? What do you call this one? What do you call both? Because
Subordinating conjunction.
Subordinating conjunction. Excellent. Well done. Okay. Right. Yeah. One more example here. While he waited at the train station, Joe realized that the train was late. So this one is a complex sentence because there's a dependent clause. We have dependent clause joined by independent clause, okay? But we use the dependent clause here. That's why we use comma here, okay? لبرأوب comma من بكر هنا شنك dependent clause لسرتاي structure كبكر هاتو, okay? Okay. The last one, after they left on the bus, Mary and Samantha realized that Joe was waiting at the train station. This is dependent clause. And then we have the main clause, independent. Independent means main, okay? The main clause. We have main clause and we have minor. What's the meaning of minor? Minor يعني شيء؟ يعني لا وشي. Okay, فرعي. Minor clause, we can say. You can say major. Okay. Independent, what a major clause in the sentence. Major يعني سركي. And you have minor or less important. Okay, so be careful whenever we use dependent clause at the beginning of the complex sentence, you should use a comma. But if you use independent clause at the beginning, you don't need comma. For example, if you look at here, Mary and Samantha realized that Joe was waiting at the train station after they left on the bus. أگر أول رسالة بكاربينين the main clause, you don't need the comma, okay? You basically omit. You basically remove if you use this at the beginning. As we said earlier, independent clauses can be used first in the sentence, followed by independent clauses. And again here, when the independent clause comes first, the comma should not be used to separate the two sentences, okay? The two clauses, as you can see here in these examples. Okay. So I'm going to stop here because our session is 1 hour long, I guess. I will share this slide with you, and I'm going to upload the recordings of this session to the Moodle in case some students did not attend our session. We know that it's Ramadan, and some people, they are still asleep in the bed. I'll share this one, the slides, on the Moodle to look at the examples in more details if you didn't have much time to take down or jot down the notes, okay? Thank you so much. So basically today we talked about the sentence. We said we have 3 different types of sentences. What are they? Not you, sorry, Ragat. I'd like to choose someone else. Let me see. Let me go back to the main room. Okay. Hajar. So what do you think, Hajar? How many types of sentences do you have and what are they? How do you distinguish them? Please, go ahead.
We have 3.
Yes.
Simple sentence.
Okay, good.
Compound sentence and complex.
Very good. So what's simple? What's compound?
Simple,
what's
like it has one idea.
Good. It has one
idea, yes. And a subject and a verb.
Okay, and a complete thought. This is important.
Yes.
Okay, and how? Okay, then the second type.
The second type is compound. Like we have for fanboys and for but or.
Yeah. For example, can you give me an example of a compound sentence? Use and. Give me an example of compound sentence. Use and. Easy. It's a piece of cake. Okay.
Like I eat an apple
and he eats an orange. I eat an apple and he eats an apple. Or you can say, but he eats an apple.
Yes.
I am a teacher, but he's a doctor. Okay? So this is a compound sentence. Very good. Okay, and then the third type?
Complex sentence.
So what is a complex?
Like when we have because and when, while,
before, while, even though.
after.
Right.
Yes.
This is not a satisfactory definition, Hajar? Like, if someone asks you, what is a complex sentence? How would you explain?
Yes, and
Malvin, thank you. Thank you, Malvin. Thank you so much. Malvin, can you? I think you were not with us from the beginning. So, Malvin, what's a complex sentence?
A complexity is like what do you call it? Like mix. It's made of independent clause and one or more. Like it's not only one simple sentence.
Okay. So we have an independent clause with dependent clause, okay? You must have a dependent clause and an independent clause. Thank you. That's all for today. If you don't have any questions, I have to end the session. If you have any concerns or anything you want to add to the session, just let me know. No questions?
No questions.
Okay, Zainab, we didn't say hello to you. Zainab, hello. Sorry, I didn't see you. I just saw you. And I haven't scored your papers, your midterm exam paper for syntax, because I was super busy in the last few days. I'll probably score them today or tomorrow. How was the exam, by the way?
Mister?
It was easy.
Was easy.
Yes.
At least for you, it was easy. Okay, Zainab, yes?
Hello?
We can't hear you, Zainab. Your voice is far away. Okay.
Hello?
Sorry?
Hello, mister.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's it, guys. We have to end the session. Thank you so much for coming, and have a nice time. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you.
Goodbye. Have a nice
Bye.
time. Take care.
Bye, mister.
Goodbye.
Bye.